a bunch of artwork here that I could just show you quickly. It's not framed, and then I've been working on it since then. So it's been a year since I've been there. Or actually, a year ago now I was there until like mid-May. And so I'm working now to, to figure out what to do with it. I need to find a gallery, and there's one in DC that might show it. There's two different ones, but I need to work more on Michigan.
Have you tried here?
In Grand Rapids, I haven't even yet really pursued it. So, but there is the art prize thing. This is Palestine now. I'm going to that.
Oh, okay. You know, you have this Norman Rockwell-like quality to your illustrations.
Oh,
and that reminds me a lot of that one on Thanksgiving, the Four Freedoms, and that beautiful Norman Rockwell print. You got it, kid, I think.
Well, I don't have the detail that he has, for sure. I don't have the patience.
Well,
When you were at Calvin, is that what you took up art?
No. Let me show you the rest of these paintings.
But I think Norman Rockwell when I look at something like
Cool.
that. It's really excellent.
Thanks. So this is in a village in Palestine in the West Bank. When I went there so this is a place Mazen Kumseya took me. He was my guide, and for lots of things I did. He's a Palestinian from the West Bank, but he lived in the U.S. and worked at Duke University and at Yale, I think. He worked for several years, a couple decades, and teaching biology, and then he decided to go back. He went back to Palestine about 7 years ago to live full time with his wife, Jessie, who's a Chinese immigrant to the U.S. Now she's living there full time with him. And they do a ton of activism, and he's also teaching biology there now. So he took me to this person's house, and we had a great dinner.
Wow.
And
what is happening to Palestinian universities right now?
I don't know. This is Mazen Kumseya.
Okay.
Go on. Thank you.
So that's him. He's out there with some mouse traps.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Collecting. So we would go on these field trips and we'd collect as many different specimens as possible. Lizards, mice. He was really excited. One of the reasons I painted this painting is because he was so excited to catch a shrew in one of these traps. I mean, he wasn't killing these, animals. He released a lot out again if he had several of the same one. But he'd go back, and some of them turned into specimens. And he found a shrew that day. That was exciting. A rare thing. And this is one of his students who has a scorpion in one of these things, one of the jars. So we're out collecting. It was beautiful. It was really fun to go out with them in the countryside, my other, a couple are not here. I think I've got more in there. So this is a painting from a house that's surrounded by the apartheid wall on 3 different sides. It was one of the, before the wall was put up, it was one of the busiest, most vibrant intersections in Bethlehem. And then this wall got put up. And so...
In Bethlehem?
Yeah.
I find that hard to believe.
Why did they do that?
Why they put up the
They've got
wall?
more than mangers in Bethlehem at this point in time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a city. So they put the apartheid wall up because they are wanting to have an apartheid state. I mean, the Israelis are using all sorts of different techniques to restrict the movements of the Palestinians.
And to protect themselves.
There's a huge need for protection.
Well, so we could have a big discussion about it, I
What-
guess. But
Yeah,
there's
two
actually,
sides.
but it's one side is aided by the largest military in the world. The Palestinians, on the other hand, don't have much at all.
Are
So-
unarmed. Large?
Yeah, and the statistics show that that they're not equal at all. They're not comparable at all. So the wall is, it's comparable. The whole situation there is really comparable to South Africa, I would argue, and that the wall is part of that. It's very, very destructive. There's, thousands of olive trees that are uprooted in order to build it. Thousands of houses have been demolished in order to build it. And, it's, it actually,
It's really tall in this picture.
the wall
that
is,
one
yep,
story or
compared to,
two?
yep, it's very tall. Yeah, well, it varies. At places it's taller than other places. Yeah.
Didn't the construction of this wall begin with Benjamin Netanyahu's first term as president? And he's like now continuing his legacy of militarized neoliberalism in Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, I don't know when it began, actually. I was thinking I should know that. When did they start building the wall?
I think it was in 2004, 2006,
Okay,
but I might be wrong.
yeah. Yeah.
Kind of
So,
reminds me of a Robert Frost poem called Mending Wall.
Mm-hmm.
And every year the two men walk along and mend their walls, along this New England farmscape. And all the neighbor can say is, better fences make better neighbors. And all the poet can say is, there's something that doesn't like a fence. Rio Grande, whatever, and separate us from our,
yeah.
others.
It's like the LA-Israel connection.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Bob Ross.
You see this stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the view from a restaurant that's called Al Makrud, that's in Beit Jala. And I went there on my birthday and painted this. I started it there, I didn't finish it there.
Is there any industry at all in Palestine?
It's not good.
You manufactured or?
The cross made out of olive wood from Bethlehem, I suppose you could call that.
Yeah, there's some of that kind of stuff.
We use those at our
Crafts.
church.
But there's really not, there's very little industry, there's very little economic independence whatsoever, because, there's just so many rules, and they're have very little control over their lives. There's so many water shortages, there's so many restrictions on travel. Palestinians have to go through several checkpoints to get anywhere. It's very hard. The people have businesses, they have shops, where they sell candy bars and pop and hummus and bread and then there's restaurants. So tourists.
It would seem to me that some of the other Arab nations around would invest in Palestine and help them to build.
Kingdoms. I'm sorry.
Jordan has probably done more than any of the others, but there's a lot of money in Saudi Arabia and other countries.
Jordan was
There's-
almost more militaristic than Israel.
It seems to me that there could be investments made.
Absolutely.
It
Israel
just-
was a vast wasteland before it became Israel. It was a wasteland.
Well, why
And
is
the
that?
agriculture is so incredibly productive.
Is that because of the diversion of the Jordan River?
Maybe.
Well, it actually,
Who was the
Mazen Kumseya talks about how there was actually, that the Palestine actually gets more rainwater than England. They actually, there's a lot of lush places there.
Who's Don?
And agriculture has been very strong there
It's his
for
daughter who
a
married a
long
Palestinian.
time.
But much more since
They married at our
1947.
church, I was at the wedding.
Much more.
It could be, and also, yeah, well, yeah, speaking of the water issues, I mean, this is a monastery, this is an ancient monastery called Mar Saba, that's just outside of Bethlehem. And it's several hundred years old, it's really, really gorgeous ancient monastery, and I went there and you had to walk down below the monastery to get over to the opposite side, so I could have this view, and I painted from outside of a cave, from inside of a cave. You can see this is like the edges of the cave, the window I looked through. And it's like one of the places the monks used to go to hermitize themselves and have solitude. There's little caves all over. It's really, really neat. But speaking of the water issues, so to get here, I had to walk down below the monastery to cross this. And there's a woman that might help me put together a calendar of, I'm thinking that, because there's a lot that I have from Palestine. There's several paintings, and then there's a lot of drawings, and then there's a lot of photographs too. There's like 30 photographs, about a dozen drawings, and about 8 paintings, I think. Anyway, so far, and I could make more. If I wanted to, from some of the photographs, I can make more paintings. But so I'm thinking it could be like a neat little day planner. You know, some of those day planners have just so many different images in them.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. A date book is always nice too, where you write all your like birthdays and special occasions, and you save it from year to year, and you flip the month over to see who I remember that month.
Oh,
Yeah.
You can have it for your life.
If it could be one that could be used, not specific, I guess you could just do one that doesn't have the days associated with the dates. You just have May, and then it just 1 to 31, and
You're okay, man.
say
Yeah, I did a date book, and I would put lines,
Lola ate a
1
lot.
through 31, just lines, and then you write under May, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and then every year you know, use it year after year.
So yeah, something like that I want to make
The others.
to remind people about what's going on over there.
That would be neat.
And that it's a beautiful place. There's beautiful, and it was really hard to know, like this whole thing of using my art in activism is like, it's new to me this past year, how to get the right message across. And another project I'm working on is painting these large faces of detainees that are in Guantanamo. And so, I mean, I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, like what makes sense? Well, I want to paint their faces. I want us to see who they are. So I've been taking like single size or full size sheets.
Where do you get the pictures of their faces?
Oh, well actually Chelsea Manning made it possible, a bunch of their pictures to be published in the New York Times. My friend Deborah organized that in New York City. They took out a full page ad because some of that stuff was in the Guantanamo files. Some of them were in his releases. But also like Andy Worthington's a guy from the UK who's done a tremendous amount of research. He wrote a book called The Guantanamo Files. So there's people, and then there's attorneys, like the Center on Constitutional Rights has several clients who are Guantanamo detainees, so they post some of their photos. So I've painted portraits of for the CCR's clients. I've done their photo. So I've just been using black paint and putting them on these sheets. Now there's a guy that's Ahmad Abdullah Hassan is one of the detainees whose case is being picked up. He's filing a suit against the government for the force feeding he's receiving when they don't want to eat, they want to fat. He's filing a case of religious rights and that it's torture that they're receiving. So like I just did his face. And so yeah, it's just this past year it's just been a real growing experience of learning. And then just now this past week I was in New York City, a couple weeks ago, attending the trial of Cecily McMillan. She was an Occupy Wall Street activist who on the 6-month anniversary of Occupy Wall Street, she went to a celebration. They had a big celebration in Zuccotti Park. And it was St. Patrick's Day weekend. She just was all dressed in green. She was Irish. She just was stopping by. She was definitely one of the organizers of Occupy Wall Street, and so she had been a part of it. Well, she just stopped by, and suddenly, when she was there, that's when the police decided to come in and break it up. And that was when, of all of Occupy, that was when the police were the most brutal in New York. That's what a lot of people are saying. And she was one of the people brutalized. She was grabbed on her breast really forcefully from behind. And just out of reaction, what she says is it was just reflex. She just flew back. Like, what is this? Who's grabbing me? And they grabbed her so forcefully that it was Officer Bovel is his name. She had a handprint on her chest, a bruise on her chest from that. And after that happened, then her arm flung back and hit him in the temple, or just below the eye, like in this area. And he then threw her down on the ground, and other police officers came over and were kicking her and beating her, and they beat her, and she ended up with bruises all over her body, attesting to the fact she was beat up. And she went into a seizure. And they weren't getting a medic to come help her. There's video of it. People were screaming, "Go get a medic!" They were arresting other people as well. And then the next thing she knew, she was in jail, and she had felony charges against her because she flew back. They're saying she was assaulting him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So then she has to plead down.
So she's facing 7 years in jail if found guilty. It's the maximum penalty, and her court, and it's awful because the court case is really disgusting to watch. It's amazing how much the Manhattan court is coming to the aid of the police. It's really
They
biased.
always do, all the courts.
It's really amazing. This judge is so biased towards the prosecution. So I was there for a bunch of the days of her case, and I made drawings. And right now, there's an auction going on eBay of 5 of those drawings. They were pretty quick. They weren't as good as a lot of the stuff I did at the Chelsea Manning trial, because for that one, it just went on and on. I had a lot more time to draw. Like the same witness would be up there day after day.
Have you gotten some bids?
But yeah, there's bids happening, and yeah, so that's raising money to pay me back for some of my expenses of going there, and then also to raise money for her campaign. Yeah, it's been a pretty busy year. I'm ready for a break. And I really appreciate your coming here, because yeah, I guess it was sort of an artistic act also to interrupt General Petraeus. It's creative.
The food was an artistic act.
What's that?
And the food.
Food was
Oh!
Could you reach me?
Good.
No, that is a challenge.
So there's some people that do it really well. Really amazing. You know, Diego Rivera was unbelievable. I know.
What's his name? Paul Collins did something like that back in the 70s for the Native Indians in Wounded Knee.
Oh, yeah, and Angela Davis too.
Yeah, Angela Davis. Angela Davis.
Had the
Last night, we probably didn't catch it at 8:30, but Deb was on my program last night, and it was a video that I had taken of her at the Bitter End, no less, the coffee house, and she explained what had happened and how it came about and so on. That she had gone to this World Affairs dinner. Now, World Affairs is big in Grand Rapids, right? And as an organization. And so they had their $150 annual dinner going. And I
didn't have a name tag to show that I was registered, because I registered so late.
Yeah.
They let me write my name on a name tag and just go in.
Yeah.
Did you put your real name?
I did.
Yeah. But you didn't eat their $150 dinner.
No. Okay, so can I just show you all some artwork?
Well, can we finish this at least a little bit? The thing is that
So here's one that.
Equity wrote it up and entitled it, "Opposing War is Not a Crime," and that when you were there, that, solidarity with Deb Van Poolen as she goes to her final court date, and this was written before April 15, so that it doesn't give the report on what happened in that 61st District Court. But she was arrested for standing in the DeVos Center ballroom and speaking truth to power. Quote, "David Petraeus, you are a war criminal. You are responsible for the deaths of thousands of innocent men, women, and children." And then it gives a little more interruption, or at least information as the press saw it. Van Poolen interrupted U.S. war criminal, David Petraeus, as he glorified the U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan at a luncheon sponsored by the World Affairs Council. Deb Van Poolen was grabbed by the arm, but stood her ground as she spoke out against the inhumanity of U.S. drone warfare that terrorizes people throughout the Middle East. Two men then escorted her out to a police car where she was arrested for trespass. David Petraeus oversaw the defeat of U.S. forces in Iraq and then the surge strategy, which I'm going to want to ask you about too, that prolonged the U.S. war in Afghanistan. Petraeus was appointed CIA director under the Obama administration, where he greatly expanded the use of U.S. killer drones in Pakistan and other countries. Petraeus is known throughout the world for horrible war crimes. General Petraeus was responsible for setting up Iraqi death squads and torture centers. And for more information, we can call Tom Burke, who is our host tonight, at 773-844-3612. He's head of the Left Forum in Grand Rapids, and that is connected with the IGE, Institute for Global Education. End the wars, stand against political repression. So, I don't know. Deb, do you want to talk about this other point that I was confused about? Or are you busy gathering your pictures and so on? What was it I was going to ask? Oh, surge strategy. What was the surge strategy?
Well, Petraeus actually was asked to lead surges in both Afghanistan and Iraq. And I know it was 2007 in Iraq, was it? The surge? I think in 2007. But anyway, what they did was the soldiers were instructed to bomb, and they raided these villages that were known to be opposed to the U.S. occupation. And they were instructed to just kill indiscriminately.
Oh.
And so thousands of Iraqis and thousands of Afghanis, both of the surges. This is something that Petraeus was good at, killing Iraqis and Afghanis indiscriminately. He also was hired he paid both Iraqis and Afghanis to go out and kill their fellow country people if they were opposed to the occupation. So anybody that was opposed, whether they were a militant or not, they were targeted through Petraeus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got a long list. He also expanded the drone war in countries that were not really at war in, when he was a CIA director, which he did after being general. And so expanded the drone wars, especially in Pakistan. And then he initiated the systematic bombing of funerals of drone strike victims, and also weddings. So these were places, weddings and funerals are places where large groups of people gather together. So it was an opportunity to kill several people at once. And then he also instituted the double tap technique. Double tap technique is where, so a drone will fire and on some people, and then there's a bunch of injured people or some dead people, and then people come in who weren't hit. They come in to help the victims, and so in the double tap technique, they wait until the rescuers come in. They wait until they're there in the same area, and then they strike again, bomb again, in order to get the rescuers.
Now these are American military that are doing this double strike, double tap you called it? Do they know it's a double tap?
Absolutely. Yeah, drone operators are very intimate with what they're doing, actually. I mean, I've heard drone operators be interviewed and talk about how they can see blood spurting out of the arteries of the people that they strike. Even though they might be sitting in Syracuse, New York, or some other drone base in the United States operating a joystick, they have that type of ability, to see exactly what they're doing. I mean, that's what you can do when you have a military that has the budget of the largest budget in the world. Largest budget that's bigger than all the next 15 largest countries' budgets combined.
And we think of ourselves as a peaceful nation.
I don't think of us as a peaceful nation.
I know better.
No, we have 900 military bases all over the world. Very few other countries in the world, I think of us as a peaceful nation anymore.